In just a few weeks from now, we're going to be starting our seeds indoors. And I always stop and ask myself this one simple question. Am I set up? Am I ready to go? So right behind me is my grow rack. And man, me and my family has very much benefited from this. How many plants we grew off of this, so many fruits, so many vegetables. And it's a little bit of an investment, but the harvest that you get from it is well worth it. So most of the things that are behind me, I bought either at like Costco's, I bought at Lowe's. Some things I did purchase online from like Amazon, but there's really nothing fancy, nothing elaborate. Everything is pretty much easy to buy, easy to find. And the nice thing about it is all my stuff is on this rack. I don't have to go around and look for it because it's all right here. So when seed starting time comes, I'm ready to start my plants. I don't have to scramble. All right, let me grab this light and here we go. So this is one of the big sections people always ask me about is lighting. Something so vital to growing is light. Just you have light, you have water, you have heat. Those are the three big things. So the one section with lighting is honestly very important, but it's easy to get overwhelmed because some people are like, oh my gosh, well, I don't know what to do with the lighting. I look at these lights and they're like starting at $120 a piece. This is just a regular shop LED light, something you could buy at Lowe's, Home Depot. I bought this one actually at Costco. I got a 2-pack for 20 bucks. It was on sale, $10 off, $19.99 for 2 of them. And I was like, that's a deal, you know. I always kind of like keep my eye out, even if I'm there for, to get dinner. I'll always kind of take a little walk down that aisle there just to see if they're on sale, which they go on sale often. But anyway, you could also pick some really good deals up at Lowe's. And you want to make sure when you buy them that they're linkable. Linkable means at the end here has a plug where I could plug a second one in, because each one of these behind me, the rack behind me here, each one of these shelves have 2 lights. So there's one here and there's one in the back. And basically I have 2, 4, 6, 8, because I have 4 shelves. So if I'm spending on sale $20 for 2 lights, that's only $80 I spent in lighting, which to me is a little bit of investment, but it's well worth it. The return you get from it, it's amazing. So key things to look for the lights is that they're linkable. They make sure when you buy them, if you buy them sometimes from Home Depot or Lowe's, you want to make sure they have a plug on them, because sometimes they do have ones that are just hardwired that you put up in your ceiling or on your garage. If you buy them at Costco's, most likely they're going to have a plug. The other thing is there's 2 things you want to just look for, and don't get overwhelmed by this, but is Kelvin and lumens. That's basically the color and the brightness. And the Kelvin, you want to stay. Kelvin is like Kevin, like the word Kevin, but it's Kelvin. And basically, you want to get something that's 5,000 to 6,000 or higher Kelvin. And that's basically going to be the color. And the color is a very bright white, kind of represents a very sunny day. Anything lower than that, your plants are going to kind of start stretching because the color. So long story short is, there's a scale you can look up for different colors of lights, believe it or not, and certain colors do certain things for the plants. So the higher the Kelvin, which would be 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 higher, is good for the actual plant and photosynthesis. The lower the Kelvin, which would be like 3,000s, 4,000s, that's better for like the fruiting and the flowering, which they'll get all that from the sun, which is amazing how it works with the sun. They get that full spectrum. But you don't have to really worry about that, because honestly, your seedlings are going to only be in your house for only weeks to 5, 6 weeks at the most, maybe a little longer, depending on what you're growing. So you don't really need to get anything elaborate. I'm telling you, a little shop light like this, 4 foot long, is great. Grab a couple extension cords. So obviously I have an extension cord that goes from the last light to the wall, and it also has a digital timer that I picked up at Amazon, because these lights are going to be on between 14 hours and 16 hours a day, because in the very beginning, when they're growing up, they need as much light as possible, and you want to make sure you position your lights about an inch or 2 above the actual seedling itself. Once it germinates and starts popping through, it needs light right away. So that's why lights are so important. And I also have these little adjustable cables on there. I'll show you real quick. All right, so these are the adjustable mounting cables. And basically, they're they're adjustable because when your plant's growing, you want to be able to lower these down really far, right above the plant. And these actually very easily come right back up. I could do this side. I could do the other side. Here, I'll demonstrate it. So say if I want to lower this down like 3 inches, there's like 4 inches. I could do it on this side too. And there you have it. These are basically going to be low enough for your seedlings. Now, as the seedlings are growing, I could bring this up a little bit, bring this up a little bit. Man, instead of dealing, because they do come with chains, but you have to unhook the chains and everything. These are so much easier. And I'll put the link in there, the description and everything to make it a little easier. But yeah, this is so much easier. As they grow, you could just raise them right on up. So I have that. I have the timer for the lighting suction. And then you also have, like I said, your extension cord. And your extension cord is something, so if I want to move this around a little bit away from the wall or something to vacuum, the extension cord gives me enough room. And then also, you want to have the extension cord when you hook in like a heater, like a heat mat or something like that. You want to be able to plug that in, or fan. Okay, so we're at the section where we're going to be talking about some of the seed trays, the seed cells, something that you could start your seeds in. You have from containers to the actual cells. So like a seed cell would be like something like this part right here, where these are individual cells that you could start. I use these for like flowers. And then the tray itself, this tray has no holes in it, so it captures the water. And then this is another one here that I use for something like cauliflower, basically all this kind of stuff like lettuce. We got jalapenos, but other flowers. I could put peppers in there. Different, these are like zinnias here, different flowers like that. Cabbage. I kind of put these out here. And then up here, these containers, these round containers, are something I'll start seed in, like these squash. So the squash kind of grow really fast and has huge root systems. So this is a 4-inch container, and it has holes in the bottom for drainage. This is a 5.5, 6-inch container. So I'll start in both. Some of the squashes grow so fast, I'll put them right into one of the bigger containers. You also have some of these seed trays, like these are here. These are just basically little these are actually called inserts. And then something like that, I could grow like say some Roma tomatoes or something, anything like that. But anyway, so I have even like this tray right here. Believe it or not, this is just like a little black tray I got on the bottom of a rotisserie chicken, and they work good. Honestly, you could use whatever you have. You could use a solo cup, plastic solo cup, and you could plant all your seeds right into it. And same thing with this one here. This one came with like scalloped potatoes or something in it, whatever. I'll load that, like with the marigolds. I'll load a whole bunch of them in there and transplant them out when time comes. And it's really good. I use those a lot for flowers. But like one right here, these are like little square pots that come in. You have basically the tray at the bottom. Then you have the tray, the cell, basically another tray that holds the cells, and each one of these cells are removable. So I could take these out. Usually when I start something a little bit bigger here, something very vigorous, like a cherry tomato, like these guys here, the super sweet 100s or the sun gold cherries, I'll start them in these guys here because they grow so fast. And if I'm going to have them in the house, like say our weather's not cooperating, I have to up pot them into something like one of these guys here. So that's basically what you use for putting your seeds in, and which is very important. And a lot of times they come with these humidity domes. And basically this humidity dome is like a little mini greenhouse here. And as you see here, I do have some lettuce seeds growing in there. That's some perlite across the top that keeps the moisture levels really good. But like one like this here, honestly, this is from, I think, Walmart. I picked up quite a few of these. Walmart, Tractor Supply has them. And they come in, they're like perfect. Just throw a whole bunch of like lettuce in there. Lettuce doesn't need a lot of room to grow, and they're ready to plug in right outside quick. Same thing with this one here. This humidity dome, this is Jiffy. Put it right on top of one of these seed trays. That's actually the same as this one here, this green one. Whoops, let me fix that. I'll fix that later. But anyway, I have another seed dome, humidity dome. I mean, these are ported. And the thing with the humidity domes, the minute you start seeing, like, I'll use this for example. It makes moisture in here, so it keeps it nice and humid. But the minute you start seeing them pop up is when you want to remove these domes. You don't want these domes to be on for too long. Like this is what you'll see inside the humidity dome like that. This is actually my soil. But see the humidity, how it builds up in there? Now, if the seedlings pop through the soil and you keep the dome on there, that's where you're going to have a lot of issues. So you don't want to do that. But back to this one here, I usually put some of the bigger plants in here. Like, you know, the ones with the pots. So to get a little bit more room, and grab a pot. So the pot goes in here like that. I could put one of the bigger plants in here that grow really fast. Humidity dome. And I have plenty of room in here. See? So anyway, that's part of your seed trays. Use whatever you could afford. You know, if you need to use the solo cups, use the solo cups. We all done that. You know, some people say yogurt containers, anything like that. Throw whatever you can. You know, even like a Tupperware container like this. You know, you could just take that and fill it up and put a whole bunch of individual plants. Pretty much anything. So now's the time. Get your hands on some of these seed trays, some seed cells. And if you don't want to purchase them, just start saving some containers. You know, you could even take a milk container and cut the top off of it and use that. There's so many different ways. Just be creative. I honestly, over time, these are from Bootstrap Farmer, and they're very hard plastic, and that's what I want. But I didn't buy those right away. I actually use whatever I can for seed starting, because, you know, it all gets expensive. You know, you buy the rack, the lights, this and that. You buy a little at a time. Important things: you want to start seeds, get the rack. If you can't get the rack right away, get a light or two, and then save your containers. Like, if you have to, go get solo cups. Cut a couple little holes in the bottom. Get something like a seed tray. Like I had this rotisserie chicken container here. Put their solo cups right in there. You know, get to the point where you get to start some of your seeds. So it's so much fun. So that's the part with the seed trays, and something to start your seeds in. I also just want to mention this for reference sake. I turned this tray the other way. This is a 10 inch by 20 inch. They also have these down here. That's a 10 by 10. I could actually fit on one rack for these. 1, 2, 3, 4, going long ways. So I just wanted to show that as reference, how much room you could actually fit. Look how much space we have up here. That next shelf, the next, you fit a lot of seeds on there. I just wanted to point that out, the difference between the sizes. If you're ordering, this is what a 10 by 20 looks like. And that's what a 10 by 10 looks like. All right, so this section is about heat, and heat is very important. It's one of the 3 important things. You have light, you have heat, and you also have water. So basically, heat is for those certain seeds that are not going to germinate unless you have 75 to 85 degree temperature soil. So what this does, this will heat up the bottom of the tray and keep the soil to a certain temperature, so you have very good germination. Actually, here's a list right there of all the different things right there. Anyway, so with the heating mats, I also have another one up top here. This heating mat here goes the whole distance of this whole 4-foot shelf. It's this thicker rubber mat right here. Can't really tell, but it's basically, it's got a heating element inside of it. And I got this at Johnny's. This smaller one I got from M.I. Gardner. And they're controlled by a thermostat. The thermostat is right here, and right now it says 75 degrees. Mostly that's the air temperature in here. And basically it's ran by this thermostat. So this thermostat just sticks into one of the cells, you know, in one of the trays, and you just leave it in there all the time. And that's how it knows how to read the temperature and when to kick on. So right there, see how it's going up? If I put it in my hand, let's see here. If I put it in my hand, I wonder if it will go up. Yeah, look at that. It's going all the way up to body temperature. And I have it in my hand like that. Let's see how hot I am. 87. Oh, I'm 88. Anyway, so that's basically how it works with the thermostat. And there's all different sizes. Like I said, that's a 10 by 10, excuse me, 10 by 20. That's something you would use for a 10 by 10. Let me grab a tray. Sorry about all the noise. So this is a 10 by 20 tray right there. See how that sits right on there? Perfect. So that's what it's made for. That right there. And then you could also take this 10 by 10, throw it right on there. That's it. Good to go. So that's how I do this section right here. All my tomatoes, my peppers, they will not germinate unless they're warm enough. If they do, it's going to take a very long time. All your bell peppers, even like these ones here, they all like a little bit of warmth for germination. So what else we got here? Super sweet 100s. These are all the goodies. So I love all that. I love this little box right here. But anyway, that's basically your heat section. And going back to this fan, this is just a regular clip-on fan, and this is for airflow. Let me get this in sight here. So basically, airflow is important because what it does is you have it set up here, and it's blowing across this shelf right here. And what it does, number one, it really helps with keeping the top not so wet of the soil, so you don't get a lot of mold and mildewy growth. Also, the fungus gnats. It really helps counteract the fungus gnats. But the other thing that's very important is when it's blowing across and you have like a little seedling here, it's putting a little resistance against the seedling, and it's actually building the seedling to be stronger. The seedling automatically will feel that resistance of the fan, and it will build a thicker stem. And this is a controlled atmosphere. Like, it's perfectly controlled. There's no wind inside the house. So you kind of mimic the outdoors, because the minute you put outside, it's going to be windy outside. So if they're already used to the wind, they're not going to fall over, and they're not going to be weak, because having the fan on them is going to keep them very sturdy, nice thick stems, and just good from the very beginning. So the next part is going to be basically about, which is really important, is labels. You know, if you don't label something, honestly, you put it in a week later, you're going to forget what it is. And then when the peppers are coming up, they all look the same. Some of the tomatoes all look the same. So make sure you get your labels, mark them what they are. Super sweet 100s. Boom. These are sun gold cherries. They look almost identical when they're germinating. So it's not till they're probably a 2 foot tall they start looking a little different. But by that time you have them in the ground, it's too late. Get yourself a really good marker too. This marker right here, this brand, I don't know how to say that. This brand right here is a very good marker, and it's made for this type of material, the Rite-On, and it doesn't fade. It's UV rated, so the sun and the rain and everything won't make it fade out. So it basically, if you use like a regular marker, after like a couple of days to a week, it kind of starts washing away, and you're like, what was that planted in there? And the same thing when they're in your trays, you want to make sure that they don't fade out. So that's basically all right. So the last thing up is basically your soil. You want to use something like, that's where it says seed starting mix. You don't want to use anything that's any kind of amended soil, potting soil, nothing like that, because it's not good for seedlings. This is like a nice organic seed starting mix. It's very light, fluffy. It's got peat moss, coco coir, and vermiculite in there, and that's it. And that's what you want for those little baby roots, those little white roots, to be able to travel through there without any problems. If you get any kind of topsoil or any kind of like compost mulch and all that stuff, it has too many little pieces of like wood in there where it's going to make a challenge for those little roots to grow. This is also perlite right there, perlite. So basically what I do with that, this is something I get from Lowe's. That's like the Lowe's, I think it's like their store brand, Stay Green. I put that at the top of my seed trays, and that really controls that surface moisture. So where it kind of keeps it wet, but not like wet where mold's going to grow. You could also use vermiculite. They are a little different though. But back to the seed starting mix. I just picked up a bag of Jiffy. You get that at Lowe's, ShopRite, Walmart, Home Depot. Everywhere has that. I use a couple different ones. I use a Pro Mix BX. That one's my favorite. But for this video, I'm just going to show you something you can just go and get at a regular store. I mean, you could get the Pro Mix, but you have to have like a hardware store. So this is basically what the Jiffy looks like. It's actually a nice consistency. Let me go ahead and pull this out. Put this over here. So let me put this over there. Out of the way. So this is nice. I already added a little bit of liquid to it, but it's nice, very nice consistency. If you notice, there's no pieces of wood in there. It actually makes it very, very easy for that baby root to play, like a little taproot that goes down and starts spreading out. Very easy to travel through. You know, it's like the coco coir is like one of the main things. I mean, peat moss is, you know, in there too, but coco coir is probably the best thing to use. So just real important, like I said, the soil. I would suggest using some perlite. You could mix some perlite into the mix, and I like to put it on the top. Like I said, the top really holds that moisture really, really well. This top is, you know, it's not green, it's actually nice and moist. And then these nice lettuces are about to pop anytime now. So when I haven't watered this at all because it's keeping it. See, it's like nice dark brown here. I hasn't watered it because it's the humidity dome's keeping the humidity in there, and then that perlite's keeping the top nice and moist. All right, so this is my wire rack, and this is basically the structure that carries everything. Pretty much everything's in one place here. It is on wheels, so being mobile makes it a lot easier if I want to move it from room to room or move it outside the garage on a sunny day. It's really nice and warm. Or just if you have it in your laundry room, you can move it around. But it's a very solid steel frame, and it's not heavy. And it's just something I bought at Costco's actually. Just very well constructed. I got it on sale, and what it comes with 5 shelves, but I utilize 4 of them because, you know, when the plants grow up to a certain height, you know, I don't want them to hit the lights themselves. So anyway, each one of these shelves, I do put a rubber mat on it. The rubber mat looks like this right here. And the purpose of this rubber mat is basically to keep things organized and also keep things from falling down through the cracks. Also, if I'm watering some of my plants up top, I don't have to worry about water getting on the light that's right below it. So it's just kind of a safety precaution. It's for organization, and it looks better too. And they clean very easy. So I could go over here and clean this mat off. I could actually take the mat off and clean it. But these mats are old and they look really good. So I would suggest something like that. Obviously, you have your extension cords. You're going to need some kind of extension cords like we went over before. This is a multi-tap, so I could plug in my fans. I could also plug in, this is a thermostat for my heat mats. But here's one of my fans right here. So I can plug in my fan, and basically that's the structure of the lights. You need some zip ties because when you're going through, you're just doing a little wire management to zip tie your lights on. You just want to keep it nice and neat. So, but see how they're daisy chained? These lights are daisy chained plugged right into the other one, hung up by these, you know, these are from VivoSun. I just went over that in the other section, but yeah, so that's the lighting rack. So once your setup is ready to go, the next step is actually planting the seeds, and that's the fun part and it's really exciting. So that's actually going to be my next video I'm going to be rolling out is planting some seeds step by step, what I do. And it's really exciting because it's just like Christmas when you open all the presents up, when you're putting all the seeds in the trays and you're just waiting in anticipation for those that grow. It's very exciting. So, but if you made it this far in the video, I thank you very much for that. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That really helps my channel. And also make sure you hit a thumbs up because all those little things that you do really helps YouTube know to push this video out. And my biggest goal is to be a backyard educator, to help people develop their gardening skills as much as possible, and that's how I like to serve the community. So I appreciate your help, and also leave a comment down in the comment section because I love to hear some of your feedback, maybe some of your questions, or maybe some of the ideas that you do that's a little different than I do that work for you, because overall it might really help somebody else out that's watching the video. So I definitely encourage that. So thank you very much. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.